Welcome back to another episode of CouchTales with Shirls, the show where we share a story to tell a tale. Today I am joined by men of war all the way from SA. Can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Donovan Mini, and I'm the founder of Men of War, all the way from South Africa in Johannesburg, and it's awesome to be in Namibia.
Thank you. And you, sir?
My name is Elvino January. I'm an ex-drug addict, ex-gang member, and an ex-prisoner. I'm the co-founder of Men of War, South Africa.
Okay, so my people, so join me. We're going to sit and gesels lekker bietjie with them, who they are, why they started this. Thank you so much. Let's tune in. Baie dankie vir julle se tyd en ek het net uitgekom met julle se besige schedule. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Pastor Elvino. Can I call you Pastor?
Yes, you can call me, or just Elvino, it's fine.
Yes, you are here for drug awareness and evangelizing, can I say,
Yeah.
and your testimonies. Can you please just share with the audience your life story and your testimony?
Greetings, family. I was addicted to drugs for 13 years of my life, and I was a part of a gang for 10 years of my life.
Sure.
And my drug addiction started while I was in school. And it started with Daga, it started with Oka pipe, and it started with vape. And eventually, my drug addiction started to be severe, where I started to use every day. And I was actually first a functional user.
Oh,
A functional drug addict is someone that only smokes drugs on weekends. But
okay.
eventually, your drug addiction progressed to the next level, where you started to smoke every day.
Yes.
And I was smoking every day, and the jobs that I had, I lost it. Family started to push me aside.
Oh, wow.
Friends started to push me aside, and I had nothing. And at the end of the day, also, as a young person, you wanted always to fit into the community.
Yes.
And I started to join a gang. And while I was joining this gang, we were also doing drugs. We were also robbing people.
Yes.
We were also hurting people, shooting people, and doing all the wrong things in the community.
Yes.
So I was in and out of prison for stabbing my friend's eye out, my one friend, and also shooting my one friend in the leg, and also for shooting someone. So I was in the district court, the regional court, and in the high court.
Wow.
And at that moment, friends left me, and my mother was the only person that was running around for me.
Wow.
To come and visit me in prison, to get bail money for me.
Mother's
And I come from a house where I was forced to go to church on a Sunday. When I was still young, I was forced to go to the Sunday school. So
yes.
Deep down inside of me, despite of the wrong things that I've done, despite of hurting people, despite the fact I was smoking drugs, I had that in God inside of me.
Yeah.
And eventually, when I was down and out, when I hit the rock bottom,
yes,
I knew where to go.
Yeah.
And one day, someone invited me to church.
Yeah.
And that day, before I went to the church, I smoked my last drugs.
Oh, wow.
And I went to the church very, very high.
Wow.
And when I entered the church, a lot of people in the community knew me for smoking drugs,
yes.
for shooting people, for stealing. And when I entered the church, all of them looked around and they started to speak to each other, say, see who's in church today.
Wow.
The murderer is here, the drug addict is here.
They were mocking you, basically.
They were mocking me, and I was so desperate to change my life. I didn't care what they said. And when they made an altar call, I went to the altar call.
Yes.
And I gave my life to Christ.
Wow.
And after that day, my life was never the same.
That is so, so deep and powerful. And after you gave your life to Christ, from there, how was the transition from there?
You see, it was difficult because people only knew your past. They said, how long are you going to be clean? How long are you going to be on the spot where you're going to serve God? It was very, very difficult for me to serve God in the same community where I've hurt people.
So now, if it was difficult for you to serve God in the same community, did you migrate to another community, or did you still stay in the same community?
I stayed in the same community, and eventually I went on from being clean 1 month to 2 months to 3 months, 1 year, eventually to 2 years. Today I'm 5 years clean and sober. By the grace of God.
By the grace
of God.
By the grace of God. This is so beautiful. And then we speak to Prophet Donovan. Can you just share a little bit about your story and your testimony?
Thank you, Shelly, for having us. It's good to be here.
It's an honor. It's an honor.
So I had a different life growing up, and we actually cousins, right?
Yes.
Nice.
Dad and his dad had a relationship,
Oh,
very close.
oh,
His dad was smoking drugs. My father was also smoking drugs. My
yeah.
dad was drinking. And his dad was drinking. And way back, they used to traumatize our families. They were the people that was doing a lot of wrong.
Mm.
And my father passed on. His father's still alive. And thank God that he's changed. And his father's become a remarkable man. And
Yes.
his father also plays a big role in my life right
Yeah.
now at this moment. So I grew up when my father was an alcoholic and my mom was also an alcoholic.
Yes.
My mom used to drink every single day. My dad also. We lived
Yes.
in a shack in
Yes.
someone's backyard.
Yes.
My father was very abusive towards my mother, and he used to beat my mom up on Fridays. And then on Sundays, he would ask forgiveness. And there was a cycle that my mom would always forgive him.
Mm.
So as a little boy, I had this whole wrong impression about what a man should be.
Yes.
Because that was all that I saw my dad do to my mom. And I went to school my first day at school, and everybody's parents was there, and my mom and my dad wasn't there.
Yes.
And that was when my first problem started.
Mm.
And the mere fact that all these children had new school clothes, and my brother is 4 years older than me.
Yes.
So I took his old school shoes, his old school clothes. So I thought to myself, okay, this is probably going to be Donovan's life.
Yeah.
I'm always going to get something when people are done using it, and then it's going to come to me. I'm always going to get the hand downs with family. So I started my school journey as a young boy, very quiet.
Yes.
I didn't speak much, and then I did good in school. I was head boy in primary school.
Wow.
I was
Awesome.
head boy in high school as well.
Yes.
And one thing happened when I was 11 years old, Shirley.
Yes.
On a Tuesday, I went to school, and when I came back from school,
Mhm.
my dad didn't go to work that day. So my dad and my mom was fighting. And when I came to the door of the shack and I wanted to open the door was locked, but I could hear the noise.
Yeah.
And eventually I got to open up the door. And when I opened up the door, I found my dad sitting on top of my mom. And my dad broke a bottle in my mom's face.
Oh.
While I opened the door, that was the picture that I saw. My mom obtained 8 stitches on the left eye.
Oh.
But I tried pushing my dad off while I was getting full of blood and I didn't have enough power.
Sorry, you were 11 years old.
I
You
was
said.
11 years old. And I didn't have enough power to push my dad off my mom. So I ran to the neighbors. The neighbors come and they get my dad off of my mom. They rushed my mom to hospital. I ran away to a friend of mine.
Yes.
I went to go stay by them from the Tuesday up until the Sunday.
Yes.
I went to school from their house and I started wearing some of their school clothes because my mom was still in hospital. I was afraid to go home to my dad. And I developed this hatred. I had this love and hate relationship with my dad where I hated what he was doing to my mom and everything. So eventually, when I went back, my mom was angry at me for the mere fact that I went to go and call people to see what happened.
Yeah.
Actually, I grew up where my father used to beat my mom, but me and my brother had to keep quiet about it. It wasn't something that we should
You
share.
couldn't talk about it because I think eventually it's like he was like, you're bringing shame onto my house.
And at that moment, as a child, I didn't know what to do, so I ran to go and tell people. So my mom was mad at me, and things went on. At the age of 14 years, going to 15 years, my dad got murdered. They stabbed my father 28 times there. And at that moment, there was a part of me as a youngster that had this bitterness
Yes.
and this kind of joy.
Anger.
Yes, and when my dad passed on, I said to myself, maybe it's best that he's gone because from today on, nobody's going to ever love their hands from my mom. But I needed my father as well. But at that time, I was so hurt, I didn't see that I needed my father.
Yes.
Because when my dad was sober, there was glimpses of him being a good man.
Yes.
And he also suffered from addiction. My brother eventually suffered from addiction. I also suffered. Thank God that my brother is clean and sober right now, and he's also serving the Lord.
Wow, glory to God.
So then at 14 years, my addiction started. 14, 15, my addiction started. I started smoking drugs. But I was a head boy when I was 18 years old.
Oh.
So at this time, my addiction was a thing where I was a different person at school and I was a different person outside.
Okay.
So at class, I was a different child, and outside, I was pretending I was living a double life.
Yeah.
And it was easier for me to pretend because I've lived my whole life like that. I used to go to school and pretend that everything is fine while things are falling apart at home. My mom used to iron for people and clean the houses to make sure we have something extra.
To 8 years.
My dad was the only one that was working. And at the age of 17 years old, I stabbed somebody for the very first time.
Oh, wow.
And I got a criminal record on my name. And when I got the criminal record on my name, I went to Micro. It's a program that we're going to in South Africa when you're underage to go to jail.
Yes.
Did my 6 months Micro and I got my criminal record. But then what happened is, at 18 years old, I passed my matric and I got 7 bursaries to go and study.
Wow.
And I told myself, you know what, this is going to be the change. I'm going to be the first person in my family that actually goes to varsity.
Yes.
But you know what, that sometimes your results can be good, but if your character is not right, and the devil
Wow.
knows way before you come into your calling, the devil knows that you are called for a certain purpose.
Yes, he knows.
So all 7 bursaries did their last research on my name to make sure that my character and everything, my background was fine for them to release the funds. When they found out I had a criminal record, all 7 bursaries withdrew themselves from my life.
Oh.
And at that moment, I just felt like everything is falling apart. And a couple of months after that, my mom passed away from sugar diabetes. So I became an orphan at that time. Got money from my dad and he left until I turned 18. When I got that money, that's when we and Alvino was very close. We were in gangsterism. We were running a gang, doing everything, going out every night, shooting people, just doing all the wrong stuff.
Yes.
We were also selling drugs at that moment. And I felt like this money would bring a certain amount of peace to me.
Yes.
Because I grew up not having all of these things, and now I'm
Yes.
having cars and I'm living in fancy places,
Yes.
living a fancy lifestyle. But all of that couldn't really fill the void that has always been there. And for the mere fact that my parents weren't there. And as I was spiraling out of control, I got to a point where I lost everything that I ever had. There was a moment where I had 6 cars parked in my driveway.
Wow.
I lost everything. I smoked everything out. I used to live in a townhouse and I had to come back to the community as if everything fell down. And at that moment, I didn't have a mom, I didn't have a dad. My whole life went down like that. And Elvino was one of the people that always stood by me.
Okay.
And his mom and his dad always stood by me
Wow.
because his father always felt like he owes my father that much because they were very close. And while I was spiraling out of control and losing everything, people said I would never bounce back. I know that when my dad beat my mom when I was 11 years old and I ran to somebody else's house, which is under Lucinda, at the age of 11 years old was my first Sunday that I went to Sunday school. And Auntie Lucinda told me at 11 years old, when you go through a difficult time, just call on in the name of Jesus.
Oh wow.
And when I finally got to that place when I was a young adult, and things were spiraling out of control and I was losing everything, I remembered her words and I said, I should just call on Jesus.
Yes.
And eventually, we went in and out of prison. When I came out, I got to a place where I said, you know what, I really have to change my life now. Alvino changed about a couple of months before me, and he was a person that always encouraged me and said, you know what, there's more to you. I've seen leadership in you, I've seen all these things that you had in the streets. And we can actually use these things when we come to the kingdom of God. So for me, it wasn't like a church service or anything. I was just on my way to my granny's house one day, and there was people praying in the garage room, and I eventually turned to that room, and when I got to that room, I didn't ask so much. I just asked them to lead me to Christ.
Oh wow.
And I changed my life right there in a garage. Set up where people pray. I gave my heart to the Lord. When I gave my heart to the Lord, the first person I called was him. And after that, we were just hungry to go to church, and I just kept on going to church.
You wanted to know Christ.
We wanted to go to every service. We had a church, they were only having service Wednesday and Sunday. And we were asking around, where's the other churches? We wanted to go to church every single because I felt
The
at peace.
hunger and at peace, eh?
And then we went to church every single day. Like he said, we had backlash from the community saying, how long is this gonna happen? You've hurt other people, and people were saying like life is taking its toll because you're losing everything now and everything. But we had this one belief that God was gonna set us up again for something greater.
Yes.
And we established Men of War from there. And we said, you know
Tell
what?
me about it.
We wanted to become the help that we never had.
Yes.
Because when he came to me while I was still caught up, he said to me, you know what, we can actually go and find everybody else. And when I came into recovery, we were walking down in the street.
Yes.
It's a back room in the Auntie Dor. She passed away a couple of months ago. My soul rest in peace.
Oh.
She opened up her backyard for us.
Oh.
Started in her back room. We started praying.
Oh wow.
We are 4 months, 5 months clean.
It's amazing. It's only Christ. Only Christ can do that.
Yes.
How long they gonna last?
Mm-hmm.
We had those prayer meetings and we were believing God.
Yeah.
There's still people that is standing till this day that was a part of those prayer meetings.
Oh wow. This is profound.
In that street, and we were giving ourselves names and we say, which name? And I'm like, oh, God has given me this name. And then I came out and I said, Men of War.
Yeah, wow. It's actually a very powerful name. Now tell me more about Men of War and tell me what you guys do in Men of War besides now the church and the prayer sessions.
God has been faithful to Men of War.
Um,
God has allowed us to travel throughout South Africa,
wow.
different communities, to
Yes.
reach out to the still suffering drug addicts
Mm,
and also the affected family, because sometimes we only focus on the still suffering addict
mhm.
and we neglect the affected family.
Yeah.
and we go to different schools also to speak to children, because we believe at Man of War, if someone came to our school to warn us about drug addiction, to warn us about gangsterism, then
Yes.
maybe we would have made better decisions. But no one came to our school, so we
Yeah.
also feel it's our responsibility to go to different schools. We also go to prisons to do motivational speaking at prisons. And we also, God has also come through for us. We also
Yes.
have our own rehab center in South Africa.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we reach out to
That's God. That's really
that's only
God.
God.
That's God.
So,
Yeah.
so when we go into a community and someone really want to change their life, we speak to their families, because some people can change from the outside. Some of them can have one encounter,
Yeah.
but some of them need
Need
to
to
go
do
away.
the work also.
Yes,
Yeah.
some of them need to come out of the environment and go to a different place,
Yes.
and that's why we have established the rehab center
Oh,
in South
wow.
Africa.
This is so profound. This is so deep. If you guys can just give a message out to the audience that's watching, a message of hope. Yeah.
Let me start first, and you will finish it off.
Yeah.
I want to speak to that mother that's been praying and that's been having sleepless nights with a child that is on drugs, that is in prison, that is away from home for many days and for many months. I want to speak to that mother and say, keep on praying, man. Keep on trusting God. Don't hate your child, but hate the drugs. My mother was praying for 13 years, but eventually God came through for, and today now people is running to my mother for advice.
Wow.
So my mother is praying for other mothers that are going through the same thing. So it's my heart's prayer, God shall save your child, and God shall save your daughter, and God shall save your son. It is not impossible. What seems impossible with men is possible with God.
Wow.
Thank you.
That is very powerful. Yeah.
I would just like to say to families out there that the most important thing is family. And as children, speaking from my own experience, there was many times that I felt disconnected from my family, and it actually had a big role in my decisions that I made in life. So I want to encourage families to get involved in their children's life. I want to encourage parents to get involved in their children's life. Sometimes as parents, we are so caught up in what we are doing, and we are not that involved in our children's life. And eventually, at an older age, when our children takes a turn in life, and then we realize we've been missing out on all of those opportunities. Yes, social media is a good thing, and everything out there is a good thing, but it robs us so much from our family lives. And the opposite of addiction is connection. So once a child can feel isolated in their own home, that is the beginning of them feeling like if I can get into my own space and start using, nobody would notice. Most of our parents only notice when a child has gone down 3 years down addiction, then they notice there's something wrong. But when a child starts off, you won't be able to pick up. But when you have a close relationship, it will be easier for you to see when your child is doing something wrong because you have that bond, you have that relationship. And let us get involved into our children's life and also not judge our children. We grow up in a world that is far different from today, and our children are facing different challenges. And it is important for us to equip ourselves to get involved. Like I always say to my daughter, I don't have all the tools to be a good father, but I have to equip myself because I have to understand that there were mistakes that my parents did that I don't want my child to make. So I encourage every mother and father out there that feels useless, that feels like they've messed up. It is not the end of the world. You can use today by coming across this club. This can be the awakening for you to get involved in your children's life, to start a journey with your children, to walk apart with your children. And it doesn't matter what the people say. The world can turn their back on your child. But may you never turn your back on your child. Because sometimes, even though we mess up, we just need that one person that can believe. And sometimes the world will not believe in us. And we need our parents to believe in us and say that we can make it again. So never give up on any addict out there. Any person that you find as an alcoholic or somebody that's down and out. Just remember that God can change anybody's life in the blink of an eye. So stay encouraged. May God bless you.
Ek is baie dankbaar vir julle se tyd. Ek is iemand wat glo aan change. Ek is iemand wat glo aan om in mense se lewe te raak. But if you have people that went through that is establishing things and doing that, it's more powerful for me to use this, to use and to be with you guys and to spread the message out there. Thank you so much for your time.
We appreciate you.
Baie
Thank
dankie.
Dit kapanas baie lekker.
Ja, sê vir my, hoe was julle se experience in Namibia? Sê vir my bietjie daai, hoe was dit?
Het is baie nice.
Hoe was die mense?
Namibia baie nice. Mense is friendly.
Yes.
Baie geestelike mense ook.
Yes. Ja.
Dis maar net die weer, reën swak op moon en 7 seasons in one day. You must
can
always
say
have
that
you must
again.
always have a jacket by your side. But we are getting used to it, and we are still
Yeah.
enjoying it. Yeah.
Ja, so die kapanas baie lekker. Ek bly om te hoor.
We're definitely gonna have again before we leave.
Yeah, please do. It's very nice.
We wanna taste it in Valford, but we're gonna come back to Swakopmund and buy again by the same place before.
Dis lekker.
Bye,
Dis
bye.
lekker. Dis ons, kom ek sê wat delicacy. Ja, is ons delicacy. Ja. Was awesome. Dankie julle vir julle
Okay, dan
support.
jare seën.
Dankie, dankie. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I have learned so much and I was actually very much blown away. God is in the business of turning nobody into somebody. Yes, do not forget to subscribe and press the like button and share as well. See you next time. God bless.